Jai Hind to all the SRPians. Dear students, this is Shashank sir. Welcome to the online classes of SRPS once again. Since in previous video we have learnt about the expansion of Delhi Sultans and Sultanate, now we are going to learn about a closer look administration and consolidation under the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. So the consolidations of a kingdom or making together a kingdom as vast as the Delhi Sultanate needed reliable governors and administrators rather than appointing aristocrats and landed chieftains as governors. Okay, so the early Delhi Sultans, especially Iltutmish, favored their special slaves purchased for military service called Bandagan in the Persian. They are carefully trained to man up some most important political offices in the kingdom. Since they are totally dependent upon their masters, the Sultan could trust and rely upon them. Well, let me show you through an animation as well. So here you go, administration and consolidation under the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. The consolidation of the kingdom as vast as the Delhi Sultanate needed reliable governors and administrators. The early Delhi Sultans appointed Bandagan slaves purchased for military service as governors. The Khiljis and Tughlaqs continued to use Bandagans and also raised people of humble birth to high political positions. They were appointed as general and governors. The lands were called Ikta and their holder was called Iktadar or Mukti. The Muktis collected the revenues of their assignments as salary. Accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by the Muktis. There are three types of taxes: on cultivation, on cattle, on houses. Well, here as you can see, the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. Well, let me show you. Tughlaqs continue to use Bandagans, who were often their clients. Here clients means someone who is under the protection of another or a dependent or hanger on. Mind it guys, this is important. Okay, another moment here as you can see, it is important to remember that a large part of the subcontinent remained outside the control of Delhi Sultans. It was difficult to control distant provinces like Bengal from Delhi, and soon after annexing the southern India, the entire region became independent even in the Gangetic plan. There are forested areas like the Sultanate forces could not penetrate in forest. They could not go in the forest, so the local chieftains establishes their rule in the regions. So the local people, local chieftains or local head, they started their establishment over there. Then sometimes rulers like Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq could force their control in these areas, but only for short duration. Okay, let me tell you what is chieftains and their fortifications. Like in Ibn Battuta in 14th century, traveler from Morocco, this is important guys, Ibn Battuta, a traveler from Morocco, Africa, explained that chieftains sometimes they fortified themselves in mountain, rocky, uneven and rugged places where the Sultan could not reach, as well as in bamboo groves. In India, the bamboo is not hollow, it is big. It is several parts are so intertwined that even fire cannot affect them, and they are on the whole very strong. The chieftains live in this forest which serve them as ramparts, inside which are their cattle and their crops. There is also water from within, that is rainwater, which collects there. Hence they cannot be subdued except by powerful armies, who entering this forest cut down the bamboos with specially prepared instruments. Okay, so that all about chieftains and their fortifications. Now here important highlight is the Mongols under the Genghis Khan invaded Transoxiana in northeast Iran in 1219, and the Delhi Sultanate faced their one slot soon after 1219. Okay, so Mongol attacks on Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and in the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. Since this point is done, we'll also learn about the comparable study between Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq as well. Well, let's take a close look what Alauddin Khilji did. He attacked twice to Delhi in 1299 or 1302 to 1303. As a defensive measure, Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army. Okay, this is the first point, number one. And the Sultanate by Muhammad Tughlaq, what he did, the Sultanate was attacked in early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's reign, and the Mongol army was defeated. Muhammad Tughlaq was confident about the strength of his army and his resources to plan an attack on Transoxiana. They therefore raised a large standing army. Okay. Now, second moment is Alauddin constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers. Rather than constructing a new garrison, Muhammad Tughlaq has had oldest of four cities like Delhi, that was named called Delhi Kuhana was emptied for its residents and the soldiers garrisoned there. And third point is the soldiers had to be fed. This was done through the products collected as tax from lands between the Ganga and Yamuna. The tax was fixed at 50% of the peasants' yield. And for Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he used to get produce from the same areas was collected as tax to feed the army. But to meet expense the maintaining such a large number of soldiers, the Sultan levied additional taxes. This coincided with the famine in the area. Next point, the soldiers had to be paid. Alauddin chose to pay soldiers salaries in cash rather than hectares. Okay, but Muhammad bin Tughlaq also paid his soldiers cash salaries, but instead of controlling prices, he used a token currency, somewhat like present day paper currency, like that, but made out of cheap metals. Next, let's take a look at Alauddin. Administrative measures were very important at this moment, were quite successful, and chronicles praised his reign for its cheap prices and efficient supplies of goods in the market. He successfully withstood the threat of Mughal invasion. This is very much important, guys. And Muhammad Tughlaq's administrative measures were failure. His campaign into Kashmir was disaster. He then gave up his plans to invade Transoxiana and disbanded his large army. So that's all for this point. Next point, we are going to learn about the Sultanate in the 15th and 16th century through an animation. As you can see, the green highlighted notes, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasty ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. New ruling groups like the Afghans and the Rajputs emerged. Sher Shah captured Delhi and established his own dynasty. Sher Shah's administration became the model followed by the great Emperor Akbar 1556 to 1605 when he united the Mughal Empire. Distinctive regional styles emerged. Sikandar Lodi ruled over the region of Ganga valleys as far as western Bengal. He shifted his capital from Delhi to a new town which later came to be known as Agra. The most important ruler of the Lodi dynasty was Ibrahim Lodi, son of Sikandar Lodi. However, his importance was not due to any welfare measures but due to his arrogance. He was a tyrant. His nobles and the people conspired with Babur, the king of Kabul to overthrow and succeeded in 1526. Alright, so the ultimate note, that is the three orders, which is peace of God, Knights, and the Crusades. Let me tell you shortly. The idea of the three orders was first promulgated in France in the early 11th century. It is divided the society into three classes: those who prayed, that was called peace of the God; those who prayed; those who fought, that was knights; and those who tilled the land were called crusades. So this division of the society into three orders was supported by the church to consolidating its dominant role in the society. This helped them emergence of a new warrior group called knights. So by 12th century, nobles also wanted to be known as knights. So that's all for today, and we are done for this chapter. The next video we are going to solve let's recall question answer. Okay, so till then, stay safe, stay indoors, and keep learning. Thank you very much.